Okay, for this week's enrichment, hopefully you've followed all these steps for your composition. You might well be working in the finer details with pencil. So things like, if there's any like kind of details that are too fine to get accurately portrayed with a paintbrush, this is where a pencil can do the job. Okay, so I might continue to like add in some pencil details here, and then obviously with my silhouette I might want to add in maybe some finer details here. When you're completely satisfied with the picture and you've followed all of these steps, okay, so particularly work in finer details with coloured pencil. I want everyone doing that step. If you've done all of those steps, then you can, if it's dry, remove your tape, and then it's ready to mount and do a caption to explain what it represents in terms of your curriculum learning. Now, I'm going to show you the next technique that we're going to work on, and it's using textbooks that were due to be recycled, using them, repurposing them for some artwork. So this, for example, is from an old maths book, so probability and statistics. It wasn't used anymore, so what I've used it for now is to represent fractions in a kind of cartoony, artistic way. So this is a visual representation of fractions on maths textbook paper. So there's a technique to this, and I'm just going to very quickly show you a time lapse. So it starts off with finding the image on your iPad that you want to use. Now, you don't have to do maths, you could do language learning, geography, history, but you start with finding an image on your iPad, and then you do the same technique we've done before, where you trace your outline from the iPad. So this is me tracing it. Then you cover the back in oil pastel, okay? And once the back is covered in oil pastel, you then go over the image with a biro. And when you remove the paper, you're left with the impression of the image that you drew, okay? It sounds a bit complicated, but let me just go through it step by step. So, step 1, I found the cake that was cut into fractions. Step 2, I traced it from my iPad. Step 3, I covered the back in black oil pastel. Okay, step 4, I found the textbook that I wanted to use. So it's a mathematical design, so I used a maths textbook, and I placed my paper over the top. I used some tape to hold it in place so that it didn't wobble around, and then you can see I went over my pencil drawing with a biro. Now, hopefully you've figured this out already. When you press hard with a biro, it creates the oil pastel imprint on the textbook paper behind, okay? So you end up with an exact copy of your design onto your textbook paper. And then the final step then is to paint it with watercolour. So textbooks that I will have will be maths textbooks. So think about some of your learning in maths. I'll also have pages from science textbooks, some languages textbooks. So you're going to look at the options, and then you're going to pick a curriculum area that you want to portray artistically, and you're then going to do this technique: tracing, oil pastel, imprint, and then finally watercolour. Okay, well done.